We're going to follow the journey of a single ship. But this is no ordinary voyage. Its path cuts right through one of the most volatile and strategically crucial waterways on the entire planet. And it shows us just how fragile our global supply chains really are. So take a look here. This narrow channel, that's the Strait of Hormuz. It's squeezed between Iran, the UAE, and Oman. And it's this tiny little stretch of water that acts as a massive artery for global trade. And that red line, that's the perilous path our ship was forced to take. So that's the central question we're really digging into today. How does a totally routine trip for a 54,000-ton carrier suddenly turn into this high-stakes international event that governments around the world are watching? What made this one crossing so incredibly dangerous? To answer that, first, we need to meet the ship that's right at the center of our story. This is the Shivalik. It's an Indian-flagged carrier built to transport liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG. It's owned by the Shipping Corporation of India, and it found itself smack in the middle of the global spotlight on a Friday night in early March, just trying to do what hundreds of ships do every week, simply get through the strait. And this timeline, it really shows you how long this crisis was brewing. The journey didn't just start on March 7th. The Shivalik was already stranded way back in late February. So from the moment it left Qatar to that tense nighttime passage through the strait, all the way to its final arrival in Mumbai, every single moment was just filled with uncertainty. Okay, so to really understand the risk here, we have to grasp the immense value that was packed into this one single ship. 54,000 tons. It's a huge number, right? It's almost hard to even visualize. That's the cargo capacity of the Shivalik. But a number this big is pretty meaningless without some context. And here's that context. That one ship was carrying enough LPG to fuel an entire nation for nearly a full day. Now, this completely changes the situation from, a corporate concern to a matter of national energy security. The safe passage of the Shivalik had a direct impact on millions and millions of lives. So, why was a ship carrying such a vital cargo stranded in the first place? Well, this is where commerce crashes head-on into geopolitics. This is the source of all the tension. According to the reporting, a direct statement from Iran's new leadership put all shipping in the entire region on high alert. And this wasn't some vague threat. It was a clear declaration aimed at the world's most critical choke point for oil and gas. So this situation created a really tense diplomatic standoff. On one side, you had India urging its vessels to be extremely cautious, demanding military clearance and constant communication. Meanwhile, Iran's position stayed firm, even with stalled talks and a direct conversation between leaders. The open water had basically become a chessboard for geopolitical maneuvering. All this geopolitical tension has a very real price, and it's paid not just in dollars, but by the actual people caught right in the middle of it all. I mean, look at the human toll here. 76 seafarers on Indian-flagged ships were just left stranded, with 3 whole vessels stuck in limbo. And beyond the ships themselves, there's a community of 23,000 Indian nationals in the region, all anxiously watching as this crisis unfolded. And the Shivalik wasn't alone. The Jagprash, another huge carrier, was also stranded. So was the Sahadri. This wasn't just some isolated incident affecting one ship. It was a widespread disruption hitting multiple high-value vessels and all of their crews. But the true scale of this disruption is, well, it's staggering. Reports indicated that as many as 3,000 ships were stranded in the region, paralyzed by the fear of an attack. 3,000 ships. That represents a massive, almost unprecedented halt to global commerce. And maybe, just maybe, a chilling preview of how fragile these choke points can be. So, if you're the captain of the Shivalik, how do you navigate this? How do you get your ship and your vital cargo through a hostile strait? Well, it turns out you have to fight modern threats with some surprisingly old-school tactics. One of the biggest dangers out there is something called GPS spoofing. This is a pretty high-tech form of deception where attackers send out fake GPS signals to a ship's navigation system. The crew thinks they're in one location, but in reality, they could be drifting straight into dangerous waters. So how do you counter a threat like that? Well, first, by becoming a ghost. Ships turn off their automatic identification system, or AIS, which basically means going dark on public tracking systems. Next, they rely on the age-old cover of darkness, and they use low-tech radio to communicate. And finally, they don't go it alone. The Shivalik was reportedly guided by naval vessels, a military escort through the most treacherous part of its journey. And that brings us to our final and most critical question. We've seen ships going dark, relying on military escorts, and thousands of vessels just idling in fear. Is this a one-off crisis, or are we looking at the new reality for global shipping? As technology and politics collide on the high seas, the simple act of moving goods from one port to another may never, ever be the same.